Photoshop has many new features, some really unusual ones. In this case, Landscape Mixer. Personally, I think it could be called a surreal tool. It's still in beta and I'm certain there will be some changes to it, but it creates really weird imagery. So let's just go back right to the start. Here's an image of a street in Maidstone, my hometown. And what you can do, go to Filter and down to Neural Filters. But you might like, before you go anywhere near the neural filters, to set up a number of files. Now I can show you the files within the neural filter itself, so I'm not going to show them, but you can set up lots of different documents beforehand, or you can select from other documents on your machine. So neural filters, select that, and that will work with the current layer. As always, it defaults to skin smoothing. I really wish you could rearrange these. It would be nice because you might use certain filters all the time. It would make sense to have Landscape Mixer be able to move it up to the top and use as the default, or just set a default. However, let's just go for Landscape Mixer. It's still in beta. There might be some changes. I suspect there will be subtle changes to the algorithm, but the general structure will remain the same. So just click on. Now, if you haven't got it, you'll have to download it. And that is sometimes quite slow. I've waited 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes for a download for this file. And you can just see it just going slowly downloading it. But once you've done that, you've set it on and none of the others are set on. And at the moment, nothing's happened because I haven't selected. You've got some presets, some really nice presets, a whole range of presets. I hope they add some more to that. This one. Just click here. This is a good start. Just click one of them and you can see the result and it will process on your device. And you can see, because it's nice desert scene, a bit of obviously there, rocks there, and you can see the result. I mean, I think that's great. Create instantaneous desert scene in the middle of your town. And of course you could use that, maybe if you've got lots of different photos, to create a common theme all the way through all of the imagery. Though I must admit, the imagery does create some weird distortions of some of the objects. But what you can do, you can always go here to strength. So you might not want it so extreme. This is a really quite extreme picture, but you can go strength and you can see what happens. You just reduce it down, and that, just by reducing the strength down to say 9 or 10, just 10%, can create some very, very interesting sort of impressionist, painterly looking imagery. It still looks like the original image, but at the same time, it's been tweaked, modified in a few interesting ways. You can't really make out any of the names or any of the places. It could be anywhere. Also, it's slightly changed here as well, sort of mottled it slightly. And that's just by changing the strength. So you don't have to have it full on. That's a really good one. Just select another one. So let's just select another one. And again, that effect will be applied. Now, of course, sometimes when you've reduced it down to 9, you might not see any change at all. Probably the end result will be. So you've got this one. And now you can see the blues there. You've got that lovely rock there. And you've got the sea or lake. Oh, maybe that one. And you can see the result, just changing it. And again, you can always reduce down the strength. Probably the end of doing that is much the same image for each and every one of them. It does look the same to me. But let's just boost it up to 100. I just wanted to point out, it doesn't always need to be set to 100. But these are the presets. I assume at some point they will add some more. But you can see the result. It really creates a very unusual, obviously this is a mountain, you've got some snow there, and it's created some really odd distortions. You've got, I can't make it out. Very hard. But you've also got this, day and night. So if you want to, you can turn the imagery into a night scene. So let's just go for night. Now, sometimes I find the night option and some of the others just completely swamp the effect. So what you've got, that effect you got before, once you go for, say, night, it really, all of them end up looking much the same. But you can reduce maybe night, just make it slightly, and you will see the effect. But if you push it up too high the night, I think it just literally swamps the effect. So you can see the nice effect there. And again, you've got other ones as well, sunset. So let's just go for sunset. Maybe not so extreme, but it does create some, you've got obviously lovely, the sunset there. You've got spring. Now, I'm not really certain with some of these what the colours, particularly of spring or summer are. Obviously, summer, just bright. Autumn, you can understand. Obviously, it makes it more brown foliage. And you've got that sort of effect added to that. And it can really radically change it. You've got this scene, this mountain scene here, now looking very different simply by changing the autumn setting. So definitely another one to change. You can reduce it down again. And you can then go here. Winter. The winter one, I always find, basically if you put it to the max, turns everything into the same thing. Very wintry scene. Really great if you want lots of snow through your streets. Obviously, when this picture was taken, there was no snow. Now, this thing looks really quite snowy. Looks great. Also, you've got an option here, preserve subject. Let's just click there. So you've got a few other options. Sometimes it has an effect. Sometimes it doesn't seem to do anything. Also, you've got harmonise subject. But you've also got custom. And that's the thing I want to show more than these things. I think these presets are great, perfectly reasonable, and custom. So when you go to custom, what you've got now, oh, let's just go back down there. I don't want the winter on the max, don't want the sunset. I'm just going to keep them all at basic level. And you can see the result there at the moment. But you can go up here, select an image. Now you can select an image off your disk, so you just click there and you can go select an image from a computer, which is quite nice. You just simply click there and you can go and search for a file. So any file, use this image and it will use that image in this. And again, you can modify the strength and it can really result in some very unusual combinations. How it works it out, I have no idea. Not certain which parts or way it's warped it or distorted it, but it does create, I don't know, that just looks so odd. And that's why I think it's more a surreal. I don't think it's a landscape mixer. I am just surprised it's called landscape mixer. I mean, it might be cool for landscapes, but I think it can be used for literally anything. You could have concrete there, you could have wood. Now, the substance, materials, will be a great source to combine with this. So you can literally have materials like gold or whatever, and various modifications to that, and then use it in here, just by using one of these images. You can go for any image. So let's just go for another one. I've got a gradient here. I don't know what they are before I do it. So you can see what happens there. That's using a very weird distorted gradient. And you can see the sort of effect you could probably achieve with the substances and materials. And materials and substances, please check out my videos on those. You could literally millions of different designs can be created using that tool. All of them could then be used to blend in with your image in some truly weird ways. This really does create some, how it maps it is very odd. You've got very unusual design there. Looks like sort of growth going through this. I mean, it literally looks like, because of the swirls, because of the colour, I think it's just made it look sort of like foliage sort of going up the street. Very science fiction, weird looking. And again, you can still modify the strength. So let's just reduce the strength down. Most of the time when you reduce the strength down, it just creates that sort of blurriness. But maybe 50 just in between. You can see it sort of blending it slightly. I think that's quite nice. But let's just, again, max. Again, go for the next one. This one's just a gradient, very basic gradient. Gradients seem to give a sort of misty effect, certainly in this image anyway. So you've got a very odd, I don't know, faded sort of, like it's 19th century picture. It really does create sort of not like really ye olde 1900s sort of picture, for me anyway. But a sort of mistiness down there, sort of giving a sort of foggy morning kind of look. Select another image. Let's just go for another one. And it's a sort of similar one before, the gradient. But you can see the result by just toning down, changing the colours, making it all purple more. You've got that result. Gives you, instead of the colours coming through, you've got more of a texture, more of a ripples. You can see the ripples as if you've got ripples in that pavement. Really looks odd. Very strange sort of effect. Again, go down here. Untitled 3. It's another gradient one. And again, you get another sort. You can just literally black and white gradients work really well for creating some very unusual, misty, sort of unusual effects. And just by changing the gradient, apply some effects, you can create some very odd, unusual, misty effects. Select another one. Let's go for this one. Let's see what this one is. This is a gradient one. And you can see this time you've got a gradient, colour filled, saturated, very extreme. Again, let's select another one, title 5. What you can also use is, because down here you've got output. Really great feature of this, all of these filters, neural filters. And I wish it was in all of the filters. I truly wish that they would add this feature. Current layer, new layer, all those things, smart filter and new document. That would be just brilliant, because it would just give you millions of other options to create files and then blend them, combine them in many different ways. But you can do that. Current layer, new document. So that's what I created with that. So there's the new document, and you can then blend it in again and still modify day. Or maybe change night. And you can see by just changing it, create a really unusual golden look. Again, night seems to always basically make it look the same. Night is too intense, personally. They've gone really over. Even with a very minor change to night, it like wipes everything out. Too extreme for my like. Oh, that's one bit that I think they should change. Reduce it down a bit. Too intense. But then again, night does have that effect, I guess. Let's go and select another one, Untitled 6, and you can see another sort of unusual black and white one. This one is again the image, but this time you can see you've got slight blurriness to it, but it's the image with that effect applied, and then I've combined it again. And then you can still see the way it's manipulating these buildings in very truly odd ways. Now this one's another one. Let's just go, this is in the Barbican. And you obviously can see the concrete there, and you can modify it. Again, night, day, you can tweak it. And by changing it, you will see the result change. It seems to take more of the lighter colours in this case. You've got that, instead of the grey, the dark grey, it's gone for more of this sort of desert, lighter grey. And of course you've got the blue there for the sky. So literally millions of different designs can be created using this tool. So again, once you're happy with it, just click OK. And you can see the result there. You've got another document, and another document that you can use. And of course, what you can do, you can go to Filter, maybe go for Gaussian Blur, just apply a blur to it, or Motion Blur. So you've got that effect there. File and New, and I'm just going to create that, and Window and Materials. So Window and Materials. This is what I meant about materials, substances. You've got all these different substances. So maybe you decide, you know what, this one, still, just click there and it will apply it. Now you might need to set it, change it, modify it a bit. Takes a few seconds to process, and you can see the result there. I'm going to go with that. Just going to flatten it, and image and auto tone, just brighten it up just a bit. So you've got that lovely steel effect. Exactly the same as before. Go back to the original document. Original document, go to Filter, Neural Filters, and you can then go down here, Landscape Mixer, make certain you turn it on, because quite often what I do, I click that and I think, I can then use this. You have to turn it on. Once you've got that, you can then see these. Go to Custom, select Image, and you can see then you've got this long list. And you can select this one. And this one's that blurred one I just created. And then you can see the result of that. So it does end up adding a blurring effect into your image, but in a really, truly unique, weird way. So it's not like your usual Gaussian blur. You can use effects with images to create literally the weirdest of blurs just by using this approach. That's Landscape Mixer. So again, it's Surrealist. It's also a filter mixer extraordinaire. Well, let's go for the last one I just did, Untitled 8. Obviously, I didn't title them, so they're all And this one is using that steel. You can see the result of that. Creates a very weird combination of the steel. Now, because the colours, the whites, you can see what's happened. Maybe you need to tweak that a bit, maybe change the colours so it isn't got that sort of, hasn't got that white there. You can see the lines. It's great, actually great for creating some weird textures, I guess, on your images. And you've still got this weird distortion here. And again, you can still go for other things like summer to combine it as well. And maybe day or night. I always love day and night. I'm not really certain what happens when you do both these sliders, day and night. You put them at 50-50. Is it in between? Isn't that not sunset? Or is it sunrise? Who knows? Just seems odd. One, you think one would counteract the other one, but you can also, of course, you can have day maximum, and you can also have night. So how can you combine night and day in the same? Obviously the software can, but it just seems odd. But there's the result of using that substance. And of course, you've got literally millions of other substances and also ones you can find on the web as well. Again, once you're happy with it, you've got a new document, or you can save it to the current layer. So I'm just going to do that. So current layer, and it will just save it. And there's the end result. You've got a completely new image there. And of course, what you can then do is you've got other options. You can go to filters and you, of course, apply it again. Neural filters, you apply it a couple of times, 3 or 4 times. Might be slow, might be quick, might not even end up with particularly anything that great. Let's just try it a couple of times. I haven't tried it, to be honest. Yes, it actually distorts it more and more. So again, filter, neural filters. And you can see the result. It really does turn that into a very unusual Venetian sort of canal system. Some of the shops have virtually vanished from here. The buildings are starting to distort really weirdly and warping. Doesn't really looks like really oldie sort of 15th century. I don't know. It's just so odd. And you've got this weird design here. Edit. And you can also fade. I haven't been doing that, but edit and fade neural filters. Go here and you can go through linear burn. So you can change things, lighten, difference. Ooh. So you can create even more unusual designs simply by doing that. And again, image, auto tone, might brighten up. Gives a real golden sort of unusual, very surreal image in that form. Well, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. Thank you much.